Nope. Nope, I don't want you. Go away. All right. And okay, we're back. Excellent. Oh. Oop, one sec. Let me just mute that. Excellent. So to answer some people's questions that were in the chat while I was gone, I'm so sorry about this, y'all. I think the integers just get printed that way because they're super low. I haven't run into problems with just using them as integers. And I would recommend a notebook to answer Peter's question, because you can give yourself, there's space for text, and you can also run individual lines of code in a cell like this. All right, so hopefully it will work now. I'm sorry, guys. This is very frustrating, and I do apologize for that. So while I was waiting for OBS to start, because it's a very slow program, I was just adding a little bit of narration here. So is from the Tidyverse library. So we're going to read in our data, and the way that I'm going to read it in, it's just going to spit it all out directly underneath it. So we're going to use the read CSV function, and as its argument, it wants a string, and this string is going to tell it which file path to get the data from. So we're going to go ... which means go up one level, and then / and I've hit tab, and it's showing me all the ways that I can complete this string that will be a legal string, and our files are an input. And then if I hit tab again, it'll autocomplete because there's only one file in input, and it's this archive.csv. And we can see that. You don't have to remember the whole thing every time. If we click on archive.csv up here in input files, you can see here's the file path. But I just like the tab complete because it'll let me get a better idea of my file structure. Okay, so when I run this, it's going to print out the whole file directly below it. Oh, good. Okay, good. I'm very glad that it's all right, and yeah, I'll just have to do sort of a little bit of a workaround to get it working good. That's okay. So when I run this, I'm just gonna click play. It's gonna print out the entire data frame right below that cell. So this is the whole thing, and we can also see some information on the data frame that we read in. So these are the columns calls that it has. It has year, Punxsutawney Phil, all of these. These have spaces in them, which might potentially be a problem later on, but yeah, it's fine for now. And you can also see the data type of each of these columns. So this one's a character, these ones are doubles, which is a type of numeric data type. And the third thing that we want to do, I think it's actually 6, yes, is that we want to summarize our data. So, and we're going to use the summary function for this, which is from base R. So we're going to start a new frame by using a new cell by using this little down arrow. Yeah, we're starting with R, and then I'm going to do Python, Peter. So we're going to get to both. So there's a couple of ways that we can do this. One way is that we can give this a name so that we can refer back to it later. Thank you, Java, I don't care. Shoo, shoo. So we can give it a name, and let's call it something very exciting like data. And to tell R to call this whole thing data, we need to use an assignment operator. You can use this little arrow, or you can use equal. In R, I prefer the little arrow, but again, you can do either. And then we can tell the summary function here to act over the thing that we have called data. So when we run this cell, we're not going to print out everything like we did here, because here I just said, read the CSV, go and get it, and then push it all out. Sorry, I'm just checking up on the chat. I also don't know what that does. The pd.set_option function. It seems like it might be just sort of a visual wrapper on things. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's going to read in this thing, but it's not going to print it out. It's going to assign it to this variable, and then it's going to print out a summary of that data. So if I run this, we get the same thing because it's reading in, this is going to be printed every time you use read_CSV, and then it's going to tell us a summary. So these are characters, so it doesn't know that year is a number because some of these years are not. So here at the bottom, that's not a number to it. And it knows that Punxsutawney Phil, whether or not it sees it, that's a character, that's a text string. Oh, thanks, Tom. Sleepy John has helped out Harsh 1995 with the pandas set display option. So the other thing that we can see is for these columns here that are doubles are numbers. It is telling us some information about those, so we can see the range, the minimum and the maximum, the median and the mean, and then the first and third quantile, and then how many NAs we have, so not a number. So we have, it looks like 9 for all of them, and having looked at the data frame, I think it's the same 9. Awesome. So I'm just going to leave myself a little comment so I remember what I did. Assign our data frame to, nope, that's not how you spell data frame, to a variable named data and summarize it. Right. So that was all we had for the first challenge for whatchamacallit, for the R language. Woof. And actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, yeah, you know what? This is fine. I'll go back and tidy it up a little bit later, but for now I want you guys to have access to this. So I'm going to publish it, and that's going to compile the notebook. So it's going to go through in order and run all of the code that I've typed in. And then once it's done compiling, I'm going to make it public so you guys can go and download it. And it will be at this URL. Looks good. And to make it public so you guys can see it, I'm just going to click the little make public text here. It lets you know that you're going to be basically open sourcing your code under the Apache 2.0 license. Excellent, excellent. I have fixed the problems, and that's delightful, and I will do this from now on, even though I'm going to be having to look around because I have the chat on my phone. Okay. All right, so this is public. Y'all can see it. Now we're going to do the same thing, but in Python. So we're going to go all the way back to the top. And at the pick your language step, we're going to pick Python instead. So let's see. Let's use the same data again. Let's use the same data twice so you can see sort of what the same thing looks like in both. And I'm going to copy and paste this because, again, I can never spell challenge right on the first try. It's one of them words that's just hard for me. All right, and let me put a little note in that this one's going to be in Python, which is the default. And it's Python 3, in case you were wondering. Python 2 is now deprecated. I would not recommend using it. And so the first thing that we want to do is we actually want to import pandas. And we can actually just use the pandas import that starts in the notebook. So we don't have to type anything. You can just get rid of the rest of that text. So import pandas. So this is just like the library tidyverse function, import pandas. The as PD here means that we're aliasing pandas to the string PD. So if you want to use something from pandas, you can say PD dot whatever the thing is from pandas instead of having to type out pandas every time. So if you've used this statement, anytime you would type pandas lower down, you can type just PD instead. Get rid of that. All right. And now we are going to read in our data, which was the second challenge. So we're going to use the read underscore CSV function from pandas. And by the way, these links in the emails, I don't know, maybe you already discovered this, send you to the documentation, which will tell you how to use the function and all of the different fancy stuff that you can do with it. And we're not going to do anything especially fancy. We're going to do PD. So you can see here it's pandas.read, but we've said that we're calling pandas PD, so I can do that. And then read underscore CSV. And then in parentheses, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to give it the file path. And this will spit it out right underneath here. Oh, no, it won't. Oh. So this won't actually do anything until you actually run the code. So step one is to actually run the code. There we go. So you can see that we have pretty much the same thing that we had before when we used R. It's got all the columns, it's got all the rows, the values are the same. There's sort of a little dot, dot, dot in here where it's been folded, so it's not, you know, just the whole thing. And it looks pretty much exactly the same. So what we're going to do now, Harsh 1995 asks, why do I never find the documentation helpful? That's a good question. It might be because documentation is not necessarily always written with I'm trying to think how to talk about this. Sorry, I just had my first coffee not that long ago, so I'm still metabolizing it. Galva Bart asks, how do you start a new cell? That's an excellent question. So these buttons are the ones that will start new cells here. So you click in a cell and you'll get these blue buttons with the plus up arrow and plus down arrow. So if I want a cell below this one, right, and if I want a cell above this one, right. And the cell will be the same type as the cell that you originated it from. So these are code cells, and I can take, slower please? Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm a very fast talker. Yes, you can add it all in one cell. You can also make cells markdown, so you can just type some text. So this is just some text that is not code. And anything you type in a code cell will be rendered as code and interpreted, and anything you type in a text cell will not. So that's just sort of an extra place for you to put information, if that makes sense. Does it support LaTeX? I'm pretty sure it does in Markdown, but it can be a bit of a pain. So yes-ish. Here, let's actually, super quick, LaTeX in kernels. We can see some other people that have done LaTeX. Yeah, there you go. So you can use LaTeX in the Markdown cells in R Markdown, which you have to do as a script. So that looks like this. So yes is the answer to the question. So LaTeX, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is just a language that you use to format usually equations and math stuff, and also a lot of language stuff as well. Is there a shortcut to run a cell? Control-Enter. Yeah, Control-Enter works. So if you click in the cell and then press Control-Enter, it'll run. On a Mac, that's Command-Enter. Oh, thanks, Harsh. Oh, that's a good question. So in the search up here, when I was searching, if you start to type something like, maybe I'm interested in puppies. I am interested in puppies. although that is not the way to spell puppies. So here at the bottom, there's some search tips. So I was searching in, oh my god, what is this punctuation mark called? Kernels. I was searching just in kernels. Yes, that is a good feedback that I should assign pd.readcsv to a variable, and we are about to do that. Colin, thank you. Yes. So let's do that now. So what we did in the R example was we called this data, and in R we used a little bit of an arrow, but here we're going to use the equal sign instead, because that's the little arrow is not an assignment variable in R. And then we're going to do pd.read_CSV, and then the same thing that we did before, the same file path. And then we're actually going to use this describe function to get more information about it. So describe. Oh, geez, I hope that's how you spell that. Nope, I have spelled it wrong. describ. Oh, it's PD. All right, now I figured it out. So it's actually from within the pandas package. So I have to say, go look in pandas, and then within pandas, use this describe function and apply it to the object that we've called data. I think, nope, thank you, you're right. It's actually an attribute of the object. Yes. Thank you, Sleepy John. Pandas is not my preferred way of interacting with data frames. So from the R output, we got information on all of the cells. Describe from pandas just gives us information on the cells that have numeric values. But for those, we can see things like how many values are there, what's the mean, what's the standard deviation, the minimum. So this would be 50% would be the median, the first quartile, the third quartile, and the max. So you can see that you get pretty much the same information, and we can get rid of these, just presented in a slightly different way, and both languages do more or less the same thing on these particular tasks. Oh, so we have a suggestion from Haps, I think, to do data.describe .transpose, which I think will make this sort of like rotate it 90 degrees. Transpose, so it's a little bit easier to read. Yeah. So you can see the variables as rows. Haps has said. Sorry, I'm assuming you're Haps. It could be H4PZ. I don't know. Yeah, no, that looks very nice as well. And you'll notice you've only got sort of one thing that's printed out, even though we asked for two things to be printed out. It will always do the last thing unless you specifically say print this and print this. All right. So that is pretty much it. We got about 16 minutes, even with the very frustrating delays. So if anybody has any questions, I am happy to answer them. I'm going to put a little bit more explanation in here, and then I'm going to make this public as well. So let's see. Import the library. One function. No, that looks wrong. Import pandas. So we can use data frames. One function that I would really like in notebooks is spell checking. Yes, Peter also points out that you can print multiple things by using multiple different cells. You can put things in a new cell. So to make a new cell here to insert some text, I'm just using this plus up button and then clicking in that and changing that to markdown. Read in and print out our entire CSV. And I should say the reason that we are doing it this way is just to sort of give you an idea of what this is doing. It's going and it's getting the CSV file and it's just bleh. spitting it all out so you can see what that looks like and what the structure of the data frame is. That's not necessarily what you would usually want to do in your data analysis. All right, and assign our data to a variable named data and describe it. Describe/summarize. That's close enough. And then when I click publish, it's going to go through and run all of the code from all of the cells from top to bottom. So if I did something like data.describe without having assigned something to the variable name data, I would get an error. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're playing around in cells and you've run some code and you've accidentally put something underneath something that relies on it. You'll get some interesting errors. All right, and let me make this public so you guys can see it. And so you should be able to now see these kernels on the data set as well. So if we, yep, there they are. So if you go to a data set and you click on kernels, you can see that all of the kernels, you can see mine are here. You won't see this. You'll see your recent kernels. You can see all the kernels that have been written on this particular thing. And you can see that I have one in Python and then one in R. Okay, Priyanka is not able to read the data. Priyanka, what language are you using? Are you using Python or R? Oh, Haps asks, is there a reason why R scripts name variables with a dot between words? I also don't like that because I also work in Python, and in Python, the dot, the period, has a syntactic meaning. The reason that people do that is that that's actually the Google R style guide, is to put dots between words instead of using something else. So let's see, Google R style guide. So you can see here where they're telling you, let's see, don't use underscores or hyphens in identifiers. Variable.name is preferred. Variable name is accepted. So it's just a Google style guide thing. I also don't like it. I tried it for a little bit and I do not enjoy it. Yeah. Okay, Priyanka is using Python. And do you know which data set are you using? Are you using the groundhog one? Oh, for Priyanka. And I think what Haps means is that, so I have named this variable here data, right? But I could have named it, data 1 or my data frame. And sometimes people will, let me pull up a notebook real quick. You can name a variable whatever you like. And some people will name something like, oop, where's my mouse? There we go. my.r.variable. When you could call it sort of, you could do a couple things. You could do my_r variable. You could do my r variable and use snake case, camel case. You could use snake case. So there's a lot of ways that you can sort of separate words in a variable name. And this is actually for a variable name, the preferred one in Google's R style guide. So you can see, oh, that's real small for y'all, sorry. So you can see that they prefer to have variable names with dots in it, which if you're also working in Python is very weird. So this is the URL for the thing itself. Yes, you should be getting emails every day. And I've got a request to do the Digimon dataset, and we have some time, so yes, I absolutely will do the Digimon dataset. It's actually one of my favorites. Whoop. Yeah, and if you're not getting the emails, please let us know, and we'll hook you up. So let's start a new kernel. Start a script kernel. Nope, notebook kernel. That's the one I checked on. Well, the ones for the rest of the week are still being copy edited. Like, the exercises are done, but I still need other people's eyes to look at them, especially since I'm dyslexic. But you can sort of, if you want to work ahead, I can tell you the sort of general thing that we'll be doing. Tomorrow we're going to be doing histograms, so which is a way of visualizing data. And then on Wednesday we're going to be doing t-tests, which is a statistical test to help you determine how likely it is that two samples are drawn from the same distribution. And then on Thursday we're going to be doing bar charts, which is, it's maybe a little bit more exciting than it sounds. And then on Friday, we're going to be doing a chi-squared test, which is a statistical test for categorical variables. Is GraphLab Create available on Kaggle? I have no idea. Let's see if anyone has written about it. Nope. GraphLab Create. I'm not actually familiar with it. Somebody says they tested it, so maybe. So MBadDragon81 is asking if GraphLab is, maybe not right now. Actually, you know what? I can check. This was run a little bit ago. Maybe it's been added. Also, if that's something you'd like, we can add it. Yeah, no. Yeah, let me make a note, and I will ask the kernels folks if they can add it. Russell. I need a pen. And then I will work on the Digimon set, I promise. Kernels, Graph, Lab, Create. File not found error. Oh, Priyanka, you might. Is it in, here, let me just show you. So the easy way to figure out how to get the file is to look in the input files. So in your notebook, if you just scroll to the top, you'll see input files. And if you click on the plus next to it, and then you click on one of these ones that has like a little calendar graph on it, you will see at the top this little ... input / whatever. And if you just copy, if you actually scroll down, so if we import pandas as pd, pd.read csv, so if we just paste that into this function call, it will work. I don't know. I've never used GraphLab before. I am unfamiliar with it. Turi products require a license to use. Okay, so maybe it won't be doable, but the worst you can do is ask. So just to continue answering Priyanka's question, so this will read it in, and let's call it something like Digimon, Digimon move list. So this will import the library, read in the data, and assign it to this variable. And then if we, I think, yeah. And then we can look at just the, nope, I've messed it up somehow. That way? Yeah. So then we can ask for the head, so just the first few rows, just to check out if it worked. It might be difficult to determine whether or not someone is using something for academic use on Kaggle, because we don't have sort of like different types of accounts. You can't have like an academic account or an enterprise account. Yeah, I'll look into it. I'll let you know tomorrow what the consensus is on that. So sorry, this function just reads the first couple lines. By default, it's 5, but you can say if I want the first 10 lines. You can also do that. So it's a handy way to peek at your data. What is the best way to deal with string columns which contain numeric data? That depends. Okay, I'm glad that helps, Priyanka. You're getting name error. Can you post a screenshot of your error? Because that's an interesting error. Another thing you can try to do if you get stuck is you can try to Google your error code. So if you get a specific error code, you can see if somebody else has had the same problem. A lot of times people ask on Stack Overflow. It's a good place to find questions, or for R specifically, the RStudio community is pretty good. So, Sleepy John is answering about the question about how to get columns to be actual numbers. So it might be that this column was read in as strings, so the string 3, the string 6, the string 9, rather than treating these as numbers. So if you try to add strings, I don't know that this is actually going to work in Python. Let's quickly change to R, which is my preferred language. So in R, if you try to add strings, it's thinking. So anything in quotes is a string, and any number not in quotes will be a number. So this won't work because I am in R, right? Sorry, I just want to double check. Yeah. So this won't work because 2 it thinks is a number, and 1 it thinks is not. It thinks it's a string, like it's a word or something, or text. But if I take away the quotes, then it'll work. So sometimes a whole column will be parsed as if the numbers were in quotes, and that is the question that people are talking about now. All right, so we got about 1 more minute. So let's just quickly redo this whole thing that I just did. Nope, library. In R, just super quick, so you can get one more chance to see sort of the workflow. So I'm importing the tidyverse, and then I want to actually let me show you another way to do this. So another way to do this is read CSV input, and I do want let's do the Digimon list instead, and then I can pass that to summary. So what this function, this is called a pipe, it's not a function, does is it says do all of this and then do this. So it will read in the CSV and then give me the summary, and I'll get a summary out. So you can see it does the same thing as assigning it to a variable, but R doesn't remember about this. It just sort of like, it's like a pipeline. So it starts at the end of the pipe and it ends at the beginning. So it starts at the beginning of the pipe and it ends at the end of the pipe, and it doesn't remember anything in the middle. So you can see, some interesting information about Digimons. Oh yeah, dollar signs can also mess up your data. So that might be a potential reason you're having trouble. Especially in R, because in R the dollar sign is a special character. So this String won't work because what the $ says is within a data frame, get me a specific column. So in this data frame, let's actually assign this to, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Digimon. And then I can say I want Digimon and give me just the column from within the data frame Digimon. So it reads it in and then it prints out just the column that I asked for. Thank you. So in that case, if I left out the pipe command, let's undo this, I'd get an error because it would read in the CSV and it wouldn't know that it wanted me to do a summary on this. So the pipe takes the output of the first command and then uses it as the input to the second command. Yeah, so this will get an error. The error is at the very bottom, so it needs something to summarize. Yeah. I could also, if I wanted, nest these, so I could read the CSV inside the summary function, and it's just like, you know, it's just like any math, it goes inside the parentheses first, so it will read the CSV and then summarize it. And Haps is still helping out. For those of you who haven't seen Lambda before, that is a little function in Python. It's a little bit more advanced than what we're going to be doing this week, but it's a little function that you use once and then throw away. So just do this one thing and then forget about it forever. All right. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I'm sorry about the streaming issues, but I think I figured out what they are and I have fixed them, and I will use this this method in the future. Yeah, and feel free to, if you have any more questions, ask on the forums. I'll be back tomorrow morning, hopefully with fewer technical issues, and we're gonna do some data visualization, which is very exciting to me. So I will see y'all very soon. Thanks for joining in.